Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video where I arranged some autumnal pots together with you. And let me tell you this, I really enjoyed this project, even though I was rushing through a little bit because I think I've never planted as many pots in one go. But just coming back now from my morning walk with Alfie, it was so wonderful and cheerful to see all this autumnal color, especially at the main entrance of the house. But what I want to do today is pretty much what I've already announced yesterday. I want to continue planting and I want to take you with me to the back of the garden into this brand new border and area that I intend of creating, and I want to put some more orange plants into the ground. They will flower in summer, so you're not going to see a lot at the moment. They're kind of like on the smaller side still because they're cut back and we are pretty much at the end of the season now, but they were good bargains in the online shops and I couldn't resist but to have them, and I think that they'd be really a wonderful addition to that area. So what I want to do first is I want to take you with me down to the new area, show it to you again. I already put the plants there because I want to plant in a different way to what I did in the upper garden, kind of like a transformation in a way. It's similar but a little different still, so you've got to see it in a second. And then I want to plant it together with you, and while I'm planting I want to share the information about the plants with you. So I'm kind of trying to mix things up a little bit because in the past I always just sat down, took the time, and then I just talk you through, and I think sometimes like watching my own videos, maybe this is a little static and a little boring. So I think maybe it might be more interesting if I'm like actively digging and then just show you how I put them in the ground while I do it, then I just give you all the information. Maybe this is a little different, more fun way of doing it. I'm just trying out new things. So hope you enjoyed and hope you are excited to join me in my garden today again. Isn't that cute with the new containers in front of the garden shed? Oh, I love it. So what I need is quickly grab my little bucket with all the tools and brace for impact because I haven't tidied the garden shed in ages. So it looks terrifying inside. Well, to be fair, I think it's a project maybe for like 20 minutes, but still, oh god. I should be embarrassed, but I think all of you know the situation. So I've got my little bucket here. Let me quickly check. This is what I always carry around with me. So I've got my kneeling pad, 2 shovels, secateurs, scissors, starting fertilizer. Yep, I'm ready. So let's take it and off we go to the back of the garden. This is the brand new area of the garden where I want to create a new border with you. This is what I always refer to as no man's land because it's a narrow strip in between our gardens. So here on the left, I'm going to swing around gently again. There's a slope, and then up there, this is where we just came from. There is the upper garden. And then down here, this is kind of like where it all levels out. And then on the right, there is a farmland, and the neighbors sow something there. So I can see something kind of like grass-ish popping up. So maybe some sort of cereal. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe wheat. Who will know? But what you might see as well is that here on the ground there is a drift of little plastic bags, and in the back there the same, just behind the red foliage of the hydrangeas. I hope you get to see it. We walk there in a second. So what I want to plant today are daylilies or hemerocallis, and they both sit in the world of like orange or tangerine, pinkish tangerine. Very intriguing colors. I've got names and labels. So first of all, I just quickly want to show you the label. So if you want, you can, let me just like make it a little clean. So you can make a screenshot of the name. This one is called 2 for Tango. I've asked the online shop if I'm allowed to utilize their photos to give you a visual on how they are going to look when they are in bloom, because as you might see, there is not too much to look at the moment, but the online shop hasn't replied. So what I will do instead is I will just give you the link. And I don't have a partnership with this online shop, just to say it. I'm just going to give you the link. You can click on it down below and then you can see for yourself, and you will see both of them, how they're going to look once they are in bloom. Or you just wait up until next year, July, because then I will show you how they will look when they really are in full bloom. So if we continue walking, oh, by the way, there are the GMs that I also showed you in one of my previous videos. So I finally planted them. They are itty bitty teeny tiny, so really need to make sure that I don't step on them, especially now with all of these wonderful golden leaves on the ground. I mean, I mulched most of this area, so in a way I should be just like, oh, the lovely mulch is like covered now again, but isn't that pretty? It's like golden confetti. It's really wonderful. Also beautiful sight when the sun comes here, because then it really reflects the sun. And here is another even bigger drifts with hemerocallis. You might see that I don't space them out a lot. I'm going to tell you in a second on why that is as well. But there's another variety and another label, so I can show you this one as well. This is called South Seas. Can you read it? Maybe this is better. So just in case, if you want to write it down or make a screenshot, here you go. And pretty much the same, they don't really look like a lot at the moment. But what I did here, and if I step back, maybe you get to see how I arrange them and how I want to plant them. So I always like to plant in drifts. But here I want that these drifts are kind of meandering through the border, kind of a stream of color, and kind of like reflecting waves. And the reason for it is that here we are so close to the Baltic Sea that I kind of feel it might be nice and just like have this knot to the area where we are here, that the planting reflects that, and to really have these waves and drifts of color. So rather than like trying to plant it in straight lines, I feel that this might be quite nice and might feel a little organic and different as well. So in the upper garden I always have like really big drifts in a way, and here I want to have more slim drifts, longer and then curving. But I also want to have certain plants more in blobs. For example, here, like these hydrangeas, I mean, there's a grouping of 3 and I want to continue that as well. So I always want to have my focal points with plants that are more like planted in a circle, and then I want to have these like more softer kind of plants, or plants that are not like so structural in a way, if that makes sense, that I want to plant more in a curve and in waves here. And obviously what I want to do is I want to continue creating more garden in this area here. So I really still need to get in here and continue removing the perennial grass, the blackberries, all of this wilderness here. But let's see when this is going to happen. First, I really want to focus here on the planting because I've got more plants sitting on the driveway. So what I will do now is choose if I'm going to start planting here this drift or the other one in the back there. And then when I'm planting, I just want to give you the information about both of these varieties. I'm going to start planting the 2 for Tango variety with you now here. And personally, I think the daylilies are just the perfect perennial for... Alfie comes as well. Hello. Yes. Do you have a stick? No, you don't. So what am I supposed to do now? Throw this flat, flimsy little thing? Yeah? Does it make you happy? Whoop. Maybe that makes her happy. So where was I? I was just in the beginning. Daylilies are the perfect perennial for everybody who kind of likes to have a grassy texture but doesn't want to have grasses or ornamental grasses in the garden, because you can tell that the leaves are kind of like these elongated blades, and they come very early in the year, which is wonderful. As far as I know, they are only in green. So I've done a little research about that, and I was also looking for like, do they maybe have like one variety that has like a little autumnal color, because the thing with these leaves is that daylilies, they come early, but then they also die back a little early. And this is a sad thing always, because the one variety that I have in the upper garden, now I would say for at least 6 weeks already, they don't look like a lot, to be honest. Like the entire foliage died back, and then I just have like some brittle stems left from the flowers, and that's it. So whenever you plant daylilies, make sure they have good autumnal planting neighbors with them. Asters are great because they kind of like to thrive in similar conditions. Or ornamental grasses, I think, are also amazing, because once this texture is gone, then when I have a drift just with ornamental grasses next to it, then I still have the same texture in the grasses. For example, Pennisetum, which comes a lot later, at one point will fill in, and then I have these beautiful dome shapes of the Pennisetum. So I think that they will be wonderful. In terms of blooms, hemerocallis come in an amazing array of colors. Unbelievable. It's like all kind of sorts of like yellow and pastel colors, reds, pinks, blushes, not really blue and purple, but other than that, I think there's a color for everybody. And this was really my big problem in trying to nail it down on what am I going to choose. I think I really spent 4 hours in the online shops up until the point where I thought, you know what, just make a decision now and buy these 2 varieties. In terms of location, you can see I'm already sitting a little bit in the sun, and this is exactly what hemerocallis prefer. So they are sun lovers. Also the reason maybe on why they really flower in the mid of summer, between July and August, most of the varieties at least. They will thrive in partly shade as well. It's not that they don't tolerate it, but apparently, according to my research, they will just flower a lot better in full sun. So they are amazing if you plant them, for example, next to bearded iris, to a lot of asters, to ornamental grasses, to a lot of those plants that just really love to thrive in full sun. Alfie brought me her stick again, or what's left of the stick. So hello, there you go. Happy for another minute. So yeah, this is kind of the location. In terms of soil, they're not fuzzy. So this is quite good news for most of the gardeners. It's not one of those where you go like, oh, you need to have like acidic soil, like a lot of the hydrangeas, if you want to have like blue flowering hydrangeas, for example. So daylilies, they are very adaptable. They can cope with almost everything. And this is also one of the reasons why I thought maybe it's really worth trying out at least these two varieties now and see how I like them, and then see how I go off with that. So these are the general information now about these two varieties in particular. I'm planting 2 for Tango. This is a smaller of both varieties in terms of height and also in terms of flower size. So the height of this one will be about 20 inches, which is roughly 50 centimeters. And the flowers, they will be about 3 inches, which is still quite big for a bloom. I mean, let's face it, a single bloom that is like 3 inches. Whopper size still. Daylilies, the name already tells you what to expect out of these blooms. So the flowers open, and pretty much after 24 hours, most of them even like after 15 to 16 hours, the flower is spent. But this is why they keep on producing so many buds. It's like one stem produces tons of buds, and this is how it feels, as if they were flowering endlessly, even though every single flower just lasts pretty much a day. But in a way, I like the idea about it. It's kind of like a nice metaphor, in a way, very poetic. Most of the flowers are even edible. To be fair, I never tried it, but maybe next year is a first for that one as well, now that I have so many more varieties. The other variety, South Seas, grows even taller. That grows 30 inches, so roughly 70 centimeters. I'm always like with centimeters and inches. And the blooms are incredible. So one bloom can be up to 7 inches, which is wow, like whoppers. I can't wait to see that. And I think it's nice because just imagine I'm standing on the upper garden on the corner of this slope, and then you need to think of like, okay, you want to have things that have an impact from the distance as well. So when I'm standing up there, I have zingy, glowing, rich colors here, and then big blooms. I think that this might be a really lovely combination. Now the planting, how do I plant them? It's funny how they arrive, because they really arrive in these like flimsy plastic bags here. I'm really undecided if I like it or if I don't. Maybe I like the containers better, because at least the pots I can like upcycle and use them for my seedlings, while this is just straight for the trash bin. Another online shop sent their the plants just in a paper, just wrapped in paper, like recycled paper. And I thought that was a great idea, because it almost like crumbles apart when you take it out of its packaging, and then you can even put it in the ground. But the plants look fantastic. They look really good. They have a very good, strong root system, fleshy roots. So when I plant them, I try to plant them level. This is what I always need to do, or what you also need to do. Don't bury it, and never plant it idle. There is a root in here, so that will go out. Lovely thing here is, since I was weeding and I was working my way through here, the entire soil is lofty, it's nice, it's well prepared. There is a stingy nettle. Stingy nettles also like make sure when you have these roots, every single bit of the root has potential to root back in. So really need to weed thoroughly, and I think next spring the big surprise might come in this area here, but so it is. I prepare myself. So then in the planting hole, I just put a starting fertilizer. I always use organic bone chips, because they break down to nitrogen, and nitrogen encourages your plant to produce a good and strong root system, and this is vital for all your shrubs and also for all of your perennials, because the top growth is pretty nice, but the roots is what keeps your plants alive, especially over winter time. So I take the plant, and here you can see it's not a tangle of roots, but a lot of roots. So when I put it in, make sure that a stringy long root like this one would not like point upwards, because this is not how roots are growing. So make sure that it is pointing downwards or outwards, so that it is going to grow in well. So even outwards is sometimes nice. I'm just going to push it there into that direction, and then really level. Maybe now press it in from the sides a little bit, so that I don't push it down. That looks great. Yeah, that looks perfect. And make sure that you push it in really nicely all the way around, because by doing that, you make sure that there are no air pockets, because air pockets, they can be quite difficult throughout winter time, because then frost can come in. Imagine if there's rain, the rain collects in the air pocket, then frost comes, it freezes at the roots, and that might be the end basically for your plant. So this is never good news. So everything is firmed in, it's planted nice and level. So what I will do now is plant everything, mulch everything in well, because the mulch now is another extra layer of protection, because even though they have a nice, good, strong root system, nothing is going to root in anymore at this point. So make sure that you mulch it. And if you don't like wood chips, use another kind of mulch. There are plenty of things to use from. Even the leaves now are an amazing layer of mulch. It was supposed to be clear blue skies, sunny, nice and mild weather today, and look at that. If that doesn't smell like rain, literally. So I'm really happy that the project is done and that the plants are in the ground, because then if it rains, at least it's good for the plants. And well, the final result, pretty much as I predicted, we're going to stare at mulch now at this point. But it is a starting point, and it's typical for planting something at this time of the year if you just buy smaller plants online. So 2-4 Tango, really not a lot to look at. This is already like the big whopper that I can show you here. Most of the other plants are looking like this, basically like brown in the mulch. I'm not sure if I told you before, but one online shop said that 2-4 Tango, not online shop, it was more of like a homepage about hemerocallis in general, said that this variety is semi-green throughout winter. So I'm not really sure what to make out of it, if it's going to stay green or not, because some of the stems don't look green in the slightest, but maybe next year I'm going to see. I'm going to give you updates about that part of it. So maybe this might be something interesting about this variety. The other one, I've got more plants. So it is a bigger drift in general, and I think that this will be even a bigger impact when they come to bloom, just because of the sheer size of these blooms. And you can tell just looking at these plants, already tiny as they are, that they are just flashier and bigger and more robust in a well. Even the roots were stronger, and there were just so many roots on these. It was like big tangles. Wonderful. I think that they will be just great. It's another great planting day here in this new side of the garden. I can't wait, honestly, to show you how it looks in summertime when everything comes back and thrives and flowers. I think it would be such a wonderful sight. But yeah, that was planting daylilies. Just in case, if you don't follow all of my videos, this is a dahlia that I was referring to yesterday and maybe today again, on why I suddenly start liking orange in the garden. It is a little more pinkish on the screen. I wish that it would show the color a little bit better, but it really is something in between orange and salmon in a way. A beautiful color, very intriguing, really depending on the daylight, it changes the color. So maybe if I just go around a little bit to the other side, the color will be more realistic. Nah, well, kind of now, like this maybe. But yeah, this is a dahlia that I really love, and this was kind of like the beginning of me starting to like orange in the garden. Perfect timing, because guess what? I can feel the first raindrops are just starting to come down now. So luckily I gathered all of my tools. So all I need to do now is run upstairs, throw everything into the garden shed and call it a garden day. So I hope this was interesting for you, and I hope that you're really intrigued about like following my journey and like how I build this entire new area of the garden. I'm definitely excited about that. And more planting is going to happen here, because now I planted 2 big drifts of orange, or like pinkish orange tones, like tangerine, maybe let's call it that. And I need a counterpart. I need something different there. So I've got two really beautiful kind of like purple, blue, violet flowering varieties. Again, perennials that I want to introduce into that area as well, but that is going to happen another day. So up until then, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for giving me a thumbs up. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you want to see more, the link to my Instagram is just down below here. Take care, guys, and I would love to welcome you next time around in my garden again.